Imagine a once mighty nation, its spirit crushed, its people living under the thumb of foreign occupiers. This isn't just some dramatic setup. This was, well, the grim reality for ancient Egypt during the Second Intermediate Period. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the story of a figure who really emerged from that chaos. A liberator. Someone who didn't just, banish the invaders, but fundamentally reshaped Egypt. He laid the groundwork for its most glorious era, the New Kingdom. Our mission today is to unpack the story of Ahmose I, the architect of an empire.
And what's really fascinating, I think, is how this one young ruler navigated all this generational conflict, implemented brilliant military and, well, administrative strategies too, and he left this indelible legacy that still defines how we understand ancient Egyptian power, their ambition. We'll journey from his origins to his remarkable conquests, explore the profound changes he kicked off, and even dig into some enduring mysteries, like his final resting place. You should walk away with a really clear picture of this pivotal moment in history.
Okay, so to really grasp the huge task Ahmose has faced, we need to set the scene properly. Picture Egypt after the Middle Kingdom declined. Not unified, but fragmented, fractured, vulnerable. This was the Second Intermediate Period, a time of, well, profound instability.
Exactly. And this era saw foreign powers sort of capitalizing on Egypt's internal divisions. From the northeast delta, a people known as the Hyksos, likely from the Near East, we think they rose to prominence. They conquered Lower Egypt, setting up their capital at Avaris near modern Tel el-Daba. Their influence, whether direct or indirect, it stretched across a lot of the land. And their rule, it was widely seen by native Egyptians as a deep humiliation, a real blow to their identity.
Yeah, that must have been devastating. Yet sometimes, even in conquest, the seeds of future strength are sown, right? Did the Egyptians gain anything? Any valuable lessons or perhaps surprising advantages from this occupation?
That's a great point. Despite the subjugation, the Hyksos, maybe inadvertently, introduced significant new technologies. Most notably, they brought the horse and chariot to Egypt. Big deal. These innovations, initially instruments of their dominance, would later be adopted, perfected, and, well, ultimately turned against them by the Egyptians themselves. Imagine the strategic shift that allowed.
So while the north was under foreign rule, there was still this spark of defiance further south. The city of Thebes became a stronghold. And here, a tenacious line of native Egyptian pharaohs held out.
Right. They bravely held out against the Hyksos, constantly battling for survival. It really set the stage for a long, arduous struggle. Indeed, the liberation wasn't some overnight triumph. It was more a relentless generational struggle. Ahmose was born right into this conflict, part of the Theban royal house. He was the son of Pharaoh Seqenenre and brother of Ahmose, the last pharaoh of the 17th dynasty. His family, especially his grandmother Tippersheri, they played a critical role in keeping that resistance alive.
And it wasn't just political, it was deeply personal, bloody even for his family. We know his father, Seqenenre, fought the Hyksos directly. His mummy.
Oh yeah, the mummy shows gruesome wounds, suggesting he almost certainly died in battle. It's an extraordinary level of personal sacrifice for the cause.
Absolutely. Then his brother, Ahmose, he picked up the fight.
He did. Ahmose continued the struggle, even attacked lands around the Hyksos capital, Avaris. But his reign was tragically short, only about 3 years maybe before his own death, which left this massive void in leadership,
So after these terrible losses, a very young Ahmose, maybe only 10 years old, suddenly finds himself king. How does a child manage that kind of burden?
Well, he wasn't totally alone in those crucial early years. His mother, Queen Ahotep, she really stepped up. She served as regent, effectively holding the Theban power base together, maintaining stability. Her strategic thinking and leadership were absolutely vital then. It allowed Ahmose time to grow into his role, prepare for the huge task ahead.
What's really striking is how historians viewed this moment. What made it significant enough to mark a whole new dynasty, even though the family line continued?
Well, the 3rd century BC historian Manetho, he considered the expulsion of the Hyksos and restoring native rule so momentous, he marked it as the beginning of a completely new era, the 18th dynasty. For him, it was a profound reset. And Ahmose's coronation name, Nepetire, it meant the Lord of Strength is Ra. That name alone, the Lord of Strength, it really foreshadows what was coming.
And what came was this meticulously planned military campaign, not just a desperate charge. How did Ahmose actually start reclaiming Egypt?
His campaigns to expel the Hyksos seem to have begun about 10 years into the reign of the Hyksos king Kamudi. And we actually get this fascinating peek into his strategic thinking from, well, an unexpected source, the Rhine Mathematical Papyrus.
Math text. Really?
Yeah. It records Ahmose's movements in what would be his own 11th year as ruler, calling him Prince of the South. It tells us he moved into Heliopolis in July, then down the eastern delta to take Jaru. That's a major border fort on the road to Canaan by October.
That's incredibly specific detail from a papyrus about math. So what does that sequence tell us? Why not just march straight for Avaris?
Well, it shows it wasn't just a bold attack, it was clever, a masterclass in ancient logistics and strategy, really. By taking Jaru first, Ahmose effectively skipped a direct assault on the heavily fortified Avaris. Instead, he cut off its supply lines, reinforcements coming from Canaan. He essentially started this slow, strategic blockade. It shows a brilliant tactical mind, turning, what seemed like a weakness into an advantage.
Okay, so once that chokehold was in place, what happened next? The assault on Avaris.
Exactly. The real assault began then. We have records from a soldier who was there, Ahmose, son of Abana, same name as the king. He details the king leading 3 attacks against Everest before finally conquering it on the 4th attempt. But he didn't stop there. To truly break the Hyksos power, he chased them to their stronghold Sharohen, near modern Gaza. Besieged it for 3 grueling years until it finally fell.
Wow, 3 years. So that decisive victory, taking Avaris and Sharohen, that marked the reunification. Roughly when did that happen?
This pivotal victory, it's estimated to have occurred by Ahmose's 18th or 19th year on the throne. We can sort of infer this because by his 22nd year, we know he was using cattle brought from Canaan in the Tura quarries for building projects, which suggests that region was pretty firmly under Egyptian control by then.
So Egypt's unified under his rule. What was his vision now? Did he just focus inward, or did he look beyond Egypt's borders immediately?
Ahmose's vision, it definitely extended beyond just liberation. After beating the Hyksos, he immediately campaigned into the Levant. He reached as far as Jahi, maybe even Kedem, which we think is near Byblos. The main goal here wasn't really immediate conquest for tribute, not yet. It was more about utterly destroying the Hyksos tower base, making sure they couldn't come back. He was securing Egypt's borders for the long haul.
And what about to the south? Nubia, always important for resources.
Right. His campaigns in Nubia are actually better documented. He swiftly crushed 2 major rebellions down there, one by a Nubian chief, another by an anti-Theban Egyptian. This reestablished Egyptian rule over the region, and he set up a new administrative center at Buhin, cementing Egypt's control over those vital trade routes and, crucially, resources like gold.
Okay, so reunification secured, borders strengthened. Ahmose really kicks off a new era. We see this huge renewal of royal support for arts, monumental construction, things Egypt hadn't seen on this scale for a long time, dedicating 1/10 of productive output to the gods. Sounds like more than just building. It's like a spiritual national comeback.
It absolutely was. This massive building program, even if some bits were finished by his successor, Amenhotep I, it signaled this profound reassertion of Egyptian identity and power. After years of foreign humiliation, it was a clear message. Egypt is back and stronger. And access to resources was key. Gold, silver from Nubia, lapis lazuli from Asia, cedar from Byblos, reopening turquoise mines in Sinai. There's even tantalizing evidence of Minoan designs on objects, suggesting trade with Crete was picking up again.
He wasn't just bringing in materials, he was building impressive stuff. Brick temples in the south, like Abuin, additions to Karnak, Armont, using that white limestone from Tura, hauled by Asiatic cattle you mentioned for a temple to Ptah, though some were unfinished.
Yes, some remained unfinished. He also honored his family, building a cenotaph, a monument, not the actual burial for his grandmother, Queen Tengeri at Abydos, reinforcing the royal family's role. And, fascinatingly, excavations at Avaris, the old Hyksos capital, they found he built a palace right on top of the old Hyksos fortifications. It even had fragments of Minoan-style frescoes. It's like planting his victory flag right on the enemy's doorstep.
So we see this mix, this blend of traditional Egyptian style, but also some subtle foreign hints, maybe reflecting this newly interconnected empire. Speaking of art, how does his own image fit in? Do we have many statues?
Well, art during his reign generally leaned conservative. It echoed the Middle Kingdom Theban style, a conscious look back to tradition. Only a few positively identified statues of Ahmose I survive. There's a Shabti, one of those little funerary figures, 2 life-size statues, and maybe a limestone sphinx, though that one's tentative. They all show this distinctive feature. Slightly bulging eyes.
And it was during his time that a truly revolutionary technology might have developed, glassmaking.
That's right. While earlier glass-like stuff was often just defective faience, the intentional crafting of glass, its brilliant colors, translucence, that seems to have really started in the 18th dynasty during Ahmose's reign. The earliest glass bead found actually bears the names of both Ahmose and Amenhotep I. Imagine the new possibilities that opened up for luxury goods, art.
And Thebes, the city that harbored the resistance, now becomes the capital for all Egypt. Politically, religiously, that was strategic, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Thebes was central, ideal for defending against threats from north and south. A key lesson learned from the Hyksos invasion for sure. And the religious shift was huge. The local Theban god, Amun, was credited with inspiring the victories. So the temple complex at Karnak became way more important, and the old cult of Ra from Heliopolis kind of diminished. It cemented Theban power, both on earth and, divinely.
There's also that curious stela, the Tempest stele at Karnak. Ahmose claims he rebuilt pyramids destroyed by a storm. Some scholars connect this to the massive Thera eruption in the Aegean. That's quite a thought.
It certainly adds another layer, doesn't it? To his story, his claims of legitimacy, divine favor. But beyond these grand claims, Ahmose's reign, though relatively short, left this undeniable mark. He ruled about 25 years, died around 35 years old, we think. Radiocarbon dating puts the start of his reign somewhere around 1570, 1544 BC.
Now, his final resting place. This is where it gets a bit mysterious, right? The pyramid at Abydos.
Indeed. The remains of what's believed to be Ahmose's pyramid at Abydos were found in 1899. It had this surprisingly steep slope, almost 60 degrees, and adjacent temples were built by his chief wife, Ahmose Nefertari. But yeah, there's this long-running debate among archaeologists. Was this his actual tomb or just a cenotaph?
And this pyramid, it has this major historical significance beyond the mystery of its purpose.
Oh, absolutely. It was the last pyramid ever built as part of a royal mortuary complex in Egypt. After him, pharaohs abandoned pyramids. Partly practical reasons, Thebes' geography, flooding risks, but also theological. The rise of Amun, the Hidden One, kind of aligned with a shift towards hidden rock-cut tombs, like in the Valley of the Kings. They offered much better protection from grave robbers, which was a constant problem.
So, if Abydos wasn't his actual burial, where is his mummy? What do we know about the man himself from, well, what's left?
His purported mummy, was found in 1881 in the famous Deir el-Bahri cache, along with lots of other royal mummies. Gaston Maspero unwrapped it in 1887. It was in a cedarwood coffin, not really royal style, but his name was on it and on the bandages. The body showed signs of ancient looting, head broken off, nose smashed. It had been rewrapped later, probably by 21st dynasty priests trying to preserve the royal remains. They even placed this delicate garland of delphinium flowers around his neck.
What did the mummy actually reveal about him physically?
He was about 1.63 meters tall, so just over 5 feet. Had a relatively small face, prominent front teeth, which seems to be an inherited family trait. You see it in other related mummies. Maspero noted a distinct resemblance to his father, Seqenenretau. That was key to the initial identification.
But there's a twist, isn't there? A lingering mystery about whether it's really him. Why the doubt?
It's true. While accepted at first, later studies by prominent Egyptologists questioned it. They pointed to craniofacial differences compared to his father and his presumed wife, Ahmose Nefertari, and also the fact that the mummy's arms weren't crossed, which was pretty typical for male royal mummies of that period. So despite the inscriptions, the true identity of this specific mummy, well, it remains disputed. Today, the purported mummy is in the Luxor Museum, part of their golden age of the Egyptian military exhibition.
Okay, what about his succession? Who took over this nascent empire and carried on his work?
Ahmose was succeeded by his son, Amenhotep I. And there's this ongoing scholarly debate about a possible short co-regency between them, maybe up to 6 years.
What's the evidence for them ruling together for a bit?
Well, definitive proof is lacking, but there are suggestive clues. Small objects with both their names in the right royal style have been found. Also, Amenhotep made preparations for a Sed festival that Jubilee usually celebrated after 30 years of rule. But his own reign was only 21 years. That makes more sense if he was counting an earlier co-regency period. Plus, Ahmose Nefertari is called King's Mother in Ahmose's 22nd year, implying Amenhotep was already considered king alongside his father. It would have been a logical move, really, to prevent any struggle for the crown, especially after the rebellions Ahmose himself faced.
Right. Regardless of the co-regency details, Ahmose III's legacy is just undeniable. He wasn't just a king, he was the founder of the 18th dynasty, the catalyst for Egypt's golden age.
Exactly. His actions secured Egypt's borders, re-established strong central government, kicked off that expansionist foreign policy that defined the empire for centuries. He directly laid the foundation for the imperial grandeur, the immense wealth of pharaohs like Hatshepsut, Thutmose III, Akhenaten, Tutankhamun, all those famous names. He transformed a fragmented, occupied nation into the dominant power in the Near East. It's quite a story.
It really is. The story of Ahmose I is this gripping testament to the spirit of a nation, determined to reclaim its freedom and forge a glorious new future. We've explored the chaos he inherited, his heroic campaigns, his strategic reforms, and the immense legacy that defined the new kingdom. He truly was the liberator, the unifier, the visionary whose courage, well, gave birth to an empire.
And as you reflect on Ahmose Search's remarkable journey, maybe consider this. What does this story teach us about leadership, about resilience when facing challenges that seem insurmountable? And perhaps even more profoundly, how does his mysterious sort of hidden burial place reflect the changing beliefs and practical needs of this new empire? Charting a new path for kings, trying to ensure their eternal legacy while protecting it from the very forces that might try to erase it. It's a powerful testament to adaptation, to strategic thinking, even, in